Welcome to another video of Fashion Anthology. In my last video, I talked about Demeulemeester, a fashion poet, someone who uses fashion as a form of communication and speaks to the soul. If Demeulemeester is a poet of dark romance, then this designer is a sculptor of the body. Today's video, I'll talk about an important figure who helped shape the brands we love and adore, Demeulemeester and Maison Margiela. Not only did he stand out as part of the two amazing brands, but he also stands out on his own, with his phenomenal designs, which are highly biographical. This is Sébastien Meunier.
Alors, je suis Sébastien Meunier, je suis designer de mode. Je travaille dans ce métier depuis 20 ans. J'ai travaillé pour des maisons comme Margiela puis Demeulemeester.
Sébastien Meunier was born in Versailles, France in 1974. From a very young age, he was already interested in fashion and fascinated by putting garments on Barbie. Initially pursuing law at a university in Versailles, Meunier stood out for his unconventional style. He described himself as a bit provocative back then and often got looked at because he was wearing kilts and piercing. Though intellectually engaged, he felt law study lacked creative fulfillment. A turning point came during his first year of law studies when he attended a senior show at ESMO Paris, which could be translated as High School of Fashion Arts and Techniques. He shared about his experience in an interview with Vogue Greece. I was a law student, and I admit that I felt lost. I was fascinated by fashion, but I had never thought of myself as a designer. Just before the holidays in my first years of studies, I was at ESMO for the senior show and found a questionnaire on my chair about the history of Levi's, at the bottom of which I had to make a sketch. In the middle of the summer, they notified me that I had won the competition and that the prize was to study at ESMO for free. I decided to accept. If it didn't go well, I could go back to law. It was a safe move. During his first year there, he also won another prize by designing a commercially successful Barbie doll that was later sold at FAO Schwarz in New York, marking his entry into fashion. Finally, in 1997, Sébastien Meunier graduated from ESMO Paris with a promising career in front of him and about to take off very quickly. After graduated from ESMO in 1998, Sébastien Meunier presented his collection at the International Festival of Fashion, Photography and Accessory in Hyères and won first place in fashion. It was also here that he met Frédéric Sanchez, the illustrator sonore, and Maida Gregory Boyna, the casting director, who offered to help him doing his own fashion show. After the festival, he briefly assisted Jean Colonna, one of the prize jury and also a French rock and roll designer, before launching his own label in 1999. His eponymous brand is described as highly autobiographical, with a chapter representing an angle or a story in his life. His works explore the questioning identities and open new fields from masculinity. His debut collection, focused on fetishism and exaggerated proportion, drew acclaim and caught the attention of Maison Margiela, where he began a decade-long tenure while simultaneously managing his label. He closed his own label in 2005 with a provocative home sandwich collection and never thought he would do it again. Meunier contributed to Margiela avant-garde ethos until 2010. He then joined Demeulemeester, steering the brand for a decade until 2020, shortly after the brand was acquired by Claudio Antonioli. Post-departure, he collaborated on projects like a lingerie line with La Fille in 2021 and consultancy work for Trisati. In 2025, Meunier revived his label, reintroducing it as the 14th chapter of his creative journey, collaborating with artists Slava Mogutin and Brian Kenny. He emphasized a renewed focus on personal expression.
È interessante per me a 50 anni da rifare la mia brand perché io posso ritrovare un modo di lavorare che è più personale. Bon, visto che non ho mai sentito veramente una difficoltà da lavorare per un'altra brand e da avere i loro codici. Infatti mi piace anche da avere dei limiti che sono bene definite.
Learning about Sébastien Meunier, we can't ignore that he has a special relationship with Belgian fashion houses and designers. In the early 2000s, Sébastien Meunier work caught the attention of Margiela, inaugurating a decade-long collaboration with a revered designer. He first started as head of design for MM6, initially Line 6, a diffusion line for women, later becoming more genderless with approachable and affordable designs. And after Paul Herbert's departure, he also took the role as creative director for all men's lines of Maison Margiela. His work for the brand were both highly commercial with the MM6 line, but also really experimental, conceptual, with a high focus on reworking the classic garment, just like the way Margiela would do, while maintaining his own identity, bringing the exploration of sexuality and masculinity into the work. The result, a highly acclaimed collection such as Autumn-Winter 2006 or Autumn-Winter 2008. Our goal was to transform them in an unexpected way and to change radically the perception of them, he said in one of the interviews. He recalled the time there was pleasant with generosity and the freedom to express himself.
He's the most generous guy I've met in my working life. So it was like this freedom of showing everything, and suddenly there was like this all this thing that was coming together, and we were creating something like generously together. And I never felt that this guy give you the impression that you don't have to follow something.
After working at Margiela for 10 years, Sébastien felt like he has accomplished all he could with the brand. Before his departure, Demeulemeester was looking for a designer to help her with the men's line, so she contacted him and they arranged a meeting at a restaurant in Antwerp. Half an hour after the interview, on the train heading back, Sébastien received a call from Anne's husband with a job offer, and he immediately said yes. He worked with Anne for 2 years before eventually taking the position of creative director, succeeding her at the brand. Meunier revitalized the brand's dark romanticism, amplifying sensuality and introducing vibrant colors while preserving its poetic essence. His design transcended gender binaries, attracting new audiences without alienating long-time devotees. With Demeulemeester, Sébastien Meunier shares similarity with the love of poetry, and they are both romantics. But Meunier isn't purely a dark black poet like Anne is, and while Anne believed in covering up sexuality, Sébastien's approach is more outgoing and straightforward. He also doesn't have a long-lasting muse like Anne did with Patti Smith, and is always moving with new inspirations. But he made a lot of effort in respecting the brand identity by connecting the intersections between his own individuality and the brand's code.
You have to respect the woman who created this amazing brand. She's a master to follow and to not imitate, but to respect.
The interesting thing about his career with Belgian designers is that he was put in a similar situation twice with both Margiela and Demeulemeester. The two brands also shared some similarities besides the Belgian roots. For instance, they both have a specific identity and a cult following. It means that he has to be mindful of the core DNA. He was asked to create according to the initial designer's philosophy, which to him was impossible because he was simply someone else. His philosophy was using the house's language with his own emotion. This is the reason why when he entered fashion houses, it worked so well, and many were satisfied with how he succeeded the torches that were passed on to him.
D'ailleurs, une de mes premières collections pour moi-même s'appelait Collection française. C'était des jeunes hommes qui marchaient dans la cour du Palais Galliera avec des petites cocottes en papier sur la tête et tout était un peu bleu, blanc, rouge. C'était assez ludique et charmant et c'est vrai que je revendiquais ce côté français, un peu une sorte d'humour à la française aussi et une élégance française, une mode française.
Sébastien Meunier works intersect the French elegance and Belgian conceptualism, bridging two distinct fashion philosophies. Half of his career spent working with Belgian fashion houses. Sébastien Meunier has learned the ability to balance the elements of France and Belgium. This duality is evident in his exploration of themes such as masculinity, romance, bondage, and self-identity. Meunier articulates this contrast, stating, "When I arrived at Maison, everything was conceptual and more focused on the garment, more than in the attitude. It was really about redoing the garment. So for me, there's a difference between French attitude and the philosophy of garments, which is more apparent in Belgian brands. After being at On, I also understood that this really comes from their stomach."
La mode belge pour moi est un peu tout l'inverse, c'est quelque chose qui vient presque du tréfonds de leur culture, qui vient du sol, qui est quelque chose de plus noir et de plus sombre, de plus conceptualisé, de plus à distance, de moins proche du corps, moins corporel, alors que la mode française est assez proche du corps, assez corporelle justement, plus humaine. La mode belge met beaucoup l'humain à distance, mais fait réfléchir. La mode française, je dirais, amènerait moins peut-être à réfléchir, elle amènerait plus à poser, mais je pense que c'est les choses qui...
This understanding is expressed in design that exudes tension, power, and elegance, yet remain playful and at times sarcastic. They strike a balance, never too heavy or too light-hearted, embodying the modern notion that conceptual design can coexist with joy and elegance, engaging the body while delighting the wearer. Meunier's French identity shines through, particularly in his eponymous brand, where he reinterprets classic French silhouette with a twist of irony. His fall 2005 home sandwich collection exemplifies this, featuring models adorned with paper bags printed with his face, representing various facets of his identity. The collection played with French irony such as police uniform, cowboys, American tourists, rock and roll drummers in miniskirts, infused with wit and introspection. Reflecting on his early career, Meunier recalled his distinct approach that earned him first place at the Festival IE. "When I won the Festival IE, it was this moment of Belgian designers, Dutch designers, very conceptual. I came with a collection that was absolutely not about concept. It was about the body and the consciousness of the body." Even in his most abstract exploration, Meunier's works remain body-focused, a quality he associates closely with his French heritage. While being highly conceptual, edgy, and experimental, his designs focus on the body. He is not just dressing up the body, but also creating one with the perception he wants to evoke in others. The human form is central to the designs. Sébastien is attentive to how garments move, drape, or interact with the real person, not just on the mannequin. Quote unquote, Paying attention to people is something that I really want to do, and I want to pay attention to real people, not just beautiful models in fashion shows, and not for the glory of fashion. This suggests that his conceptual ideas are anchored in physical experience. The human body becomes both a canvas and an active participant, whether through unconventional silhouettes that trace or distort the body, or through fabrics that cling, drape, or reveal. His attitude highlights a conversation on concept and human form in fashion. Even the abstract must respond to the body. As we talk about the importance of the body in Sébastien Meunier designs, we can't ignore the fact that this theme also relates to sexuality and individuality. First and foremost, Sébastien uses fashion as a means to express himself, and one of the fundamental bodies he works with is his own. In an interview with NSS magazine, he shared, "I've worked with people who prefer to remain anonymous, but I wanted to express myself first and foremost through my clothes, probably because I didn't know how to express myself otherwise. I just want to find myself through my clothes, like a writer who talks about himself in their books." This confession highlights his belief that fashion is not just decoration, but also a vehicle for self-revelation. He further insisted, "Fashion is the only thing I really know how to do. My concerns translate into my garments," positioning clothing as an extension of his psyche and personal narrative. This was shown throughout his career, as the designs are highly biographical, with collection built on events in his life, his sexuality, obsessions, boyfriends, childhood, etc. He even dressed the model in paper bags that had his face printed. When he once again relaunched his eponymous label in 2024, this story of individuality continued with places that were close to the designer heart. His reflection on the time working with Margiela, the collaboration with longtime friend, the French history that has big impact on him, and many more. A recurring motif in Meunier works is obsession. The obsession with twisting rebellions and sensuality, with individuality and sexuality.
A creative mind in general repeat something and repeat in his own ways something that he wants to express. It's an urgency. It's something that you can't not do. You have to do it. It's an obsession because you have to do it, and it comes back in your head constantly. Because of this expression, you can also reach other people and share something that you can't share in a normal way, in a normal life, maybe. It's my way to speak, in a way.
Sexuality stands as a dominant theme throughout Meunier's career. Experimenting with femininity and masculinity, Sébastien blended the elements between the two, shaping a new kind of look, which was very new when he did it back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. As an openly gay designer, Meunier works, interrogates, and reconfigures traditional gender codes. He was an early advocate for borrowing feminine fabrics like lace, silk, with masculine tailoring. He also experimenting with garments such as sartorial coats with feminine hips, ultra-revealing gato-like pants, polo dresses mixed with micro shorts, etc. This is somewhat a soft rebellion against hyper-masculine posturing, he explained. "I really felt that menswear could take more and more elements from the women wears, fabrics, lace, but also shapes and attitudes. And I felt that it was something that was there in the world, that people were asking for that more and more. In the meantime, when I was doing my women collection, I was doing them a little bit more masculine, more tough, more hard, so I was really taking the opposite direction for men and women." However, for Meunier, gender was never the central focus. The attitude and the focus on emotional vulnerability were. As he shared, "It is not about gender, but more about the attitude. I avoid just crossing the line between men and women, as I do not like men as women and women as men. For both, I do something that I have always done. I like my boy feminine, to be able to express their emotions, and my women powerful. The man's sensibility is something touching to me that makes them something to protect because they take the risk to reveal themselves, and my women are there to protect these boys. Through this lens, Meunier designs elegantly merge the masculine and the feminine, the sensual and the rebellious, crafting a personal aesthetic that defies traditional codes. His sexuality informs this individuality, and his individuality, in turn, shape a powerful signature that has left a lasting mark on the fashion world.
My personal design has always been sharp, edgy and conceptual, with a touch of romanticism. Darkness and mysteries are part of my experience at Demeulemeester, but references of art and culture are always included in my process.
Arts and culture are another theme that was deeply embedded in Sébastien Meunier's creative DNA, consistently reflected throughout his work. As a French designer, Meunier draws from a rich tradition of artistic expression, with inspiration spanning music, painting, photography, film, and literature. Beyond seeking specific artworks, Meunier also likes to immerse himself in the atmosphere of museums and galleries. This instinctive approach allows him to absorb the spirit of creativity without rigidly adhering to trends or formula. Throughout his career, Meunier has woven an intricate tapestry of references. His collections nod to movements and figures such as the Arte Povera, an Italian poor art movement that emphasized raw materials and craftsmanship. His early work exemplified this ethos, featuring skinny punk boys covered in red and black leather, with jewelry resembling bones, projecting an almost pornographic tension. That raw do-it-yourself attitude reappears in his recent eponymous label collection. In the relaunch collection, Meunier centered on utilitarian work overall, a gender-fluid coverall that can be deconstructed into a vest, shirt, or trousers as the wearer pleases. Made from the same blank canvas fabric in every version, the overall was printed with autobiographical motive to become your own story. In short, Meunier treats even a humble jumpsuit as an art object, a living Arte Povera experiment bearing the stains and narratives of real life. He also took inspiration from sources like the French symbolist Odilon Redon, poet William Blake, photographer Robert Mapplethorpe, Reno Werner Fassbinder film chorale, the punk movement, vintage markets in Naples, dancer Václav Nijinsky, and even the blending of 15th century painting with contemporary art. These influences don't manifest as direct replications, but rather as echoes like the Gothic romanticism inspired by Redon, sensual masculinity reminiscent of chorale, or punk rebellious spirits filtered through refined tailoring. Importantly, Meunier resists the notion of a perpetual muse. His only constant source of inspiration is his evolving personal life, ensuring that his work remains dynamic and relevant. I love some artists, of course, and I reference them, but I am not a fan. It's about my own thinking and living. This refusal to anchor himself to a single idea or figure fills his collection with a moving spirit, always adapting as culture itself evolves. He succinctly put it, "Fashion moves fast. What was good 20 years ago may not be good for today." In Meunier's hands, a coat or overall can become a wearable museum piece. Fabrics carry story, silhouettes speak in the vocabulary of poetry and cinema. His collection functions as curated exhibitions, making art and culture inseparable from fashion itself. Ultimately, Meunier artfully curated inspirations, filtered through a highly personal lens, make his body of work resonate with a timeless yet ever-changing emotional authenticity.
At the end, I don't calculate anything. I don't try to be poetic, I don't try to give that kind of emotion at that moment with that collection. I'm just emotional. I don't know how it works, but it seems that it works, that I give emotion to people. Like Demeulemeester was giving emotion to people.
Sébastien Meunier's work is nothing short of transformative. They show a relentless pursuit of creativity, individuality, and experimentation. Richly autobiographical without ever feeling self-indulgent, his designs pulse with vivid energy and foresight. In today's fashion landscape, his design anticipated fluid dialogue between masculinity and femininity decades later. From his formative years at Maison Margiela to his defining 10 years at Demeulemeester and his own label, Meunier has expanded the fashion world vocabulary and encouraged others, whether on the runway, in the studio, or across the social media, to express their own narratives. Though his contributions are sometimes overlooked, his influence on contemporary culture and fashion is undeniable and enduring. Thank you so much for staying till this point of the video. I'm so sorry for not being able to post earlier as I have some family business that I have to deal with for the past few weeks. I also started an Instagram page where I haven't really gained any followers, so if you want to discuss fashion daily, please subscribe to it as well. I'll link it in the description box and also on the channel profile. And as usual, if you guys find the videos helpful, please click the like and subscribe buttons for more content. This channel is all about learning and sharing, so if you guys have any great insights or contributions, don't be afraid to share them in the comment section. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.